Alright chaps and chapesses, gather round because I've been having a proper good look into Atomfall for you again. You might remember we've already delved into the world of Atomfall in a couple of previous videos, but guess what? We've got a fresh batch of details straight from hands-on previews and developer insights, and there's been plenty to sink our teeth into. We're a brand new channel, so if you like what you see today, please subscribe for more gaming videos. This isn't just more of the same. It sounds like Rebellion is really shaping Atomfall into something unique. So let's dive into what's new. One of the first things to note is how the game feels. While some initially compare it to Fallout due to the retro futuristic 1960s British setting, a recent Tech Radar hands-on experience actually drew more parallels with the free-form exploration and frantic combat of Far Cry. This is a new angle that wasn't apparent in the older information. Speaking of combat, the Tech Radar article highlighted the meaty feel of combat and the surprising effectiveness of weapons like the wooden bow. While we knew melee weapons were in, this more visceral description is definitely new. On the range front, the weapons are described as authentic with grim and smooth animations, handling with a good degree of realism. However, the author wasn't completely sold on everything, especially the presentation of the story. That's a bit of a red flag that we'll probably need to keep an eye on. We also got some insight directly from Ryan Green, the art director at Rebellion. He emphasized the team's desire for players to really juggle their inventory and think strategically about how they approach problems rather than just relying on go-to weapons. This focus on inventory management as a tactical layer builds upon the previous mentions of limited inventory and tactical gameplay. Interestingly, the Tech Radar preview didn't feature many automatic weapons. This forces players to get to grips with a slow bolt-action rifle and unwieldy First World War revolvers. Green explained that the weapon scarcity is deliberate, reflecting the Britain's 1950s and 1960s era. For our American viewers that may not be aware, Britain does not have gun laws and is pretty strict on this area, especially back in the 50s and 60s. The setting itself is also presented as a unique element. Green highlighted the uniqueness of the Lake District setting and the aim to really lean into Britishness. This involves weaving older British traditions into the backstory and the groups you'll encounter. We're talking potential bandit Morris dancers and pagan-like cultists. Sounds wonderfully weird. This expands on the earlier mentions of the North England setting and the British sci-fi influences. The real-world inspiration of Atomfall, the Windscale nuclear site fire in 1957, is also being given more prominence. It's noted as the UK's most severe nuclear accident, and the game plays with the idea of a government cover-up stemming from this event. This adds a darker, more specific narrative hook compared to the previous general mentions of the Windscale fire. The art director Green also revealed some more specific cultural inspirations, including John Wyndham's books, Old Doctor Who, and darker British history. There are some more concrete examples of influences behind the game's atmosphere and narrative. These are more concrete examples of the influence behind the game's atmosphere and narrative. In terms of how the game actually plays, the art director spoke about the density of the play in the map's design. This focus isn't on a massive empty distances, but rather on packing each area with interesting things to do. However, the Tech Radar author's preview experience did feel directionless at times, with a sense of hoping to bump into an NPC to get some tasks. This could be something to watch out for. On a more technical note, Green assured that despite concerns about performance on older consoles, the team didn't have to make too many compromises and the game should play well and look great across different hardware generations. That's always good to hear. The PC Games N article I reviewed provided some more specific details about the early game. One author described an initial chaotic encounter with hostile NPCs. This also mentioned using an ordnance survey map as their guide, which they found to be a surprising but effective throwback. This tangible in-game item is a neat touch. Interestingly, the PC Games N author also highlighted the vibrant and idyllic nature of the quarantine zone, contrasting it with a typical grim post-apocalyptic setting. However, they did find the lack of common British wildlife like sheep and cows a little unnerving, possibly hinting at a deeper narrative reason. They also noted the ringing red telephone boxes that provide cryptic messages, suggesting a kind of environmental storytelling. We knew about a ringing phone box at the start, but this sounds like a reoccurring motive. The fictitious village of Wyndham was described in more detail with low stone walls, Union Jack bunting, and a locals-only pub. This sounds like a very specific and atmospheric location, even linked to childhood visits to the Beamish Museum for the developers. We also introduced a specific NPC like Prudence Rook, an upper-class character in denial, and Alf Buckshaw, a pub landlord full of local gossip. These characters' introductions really help flesh out the world. On a slightly lighter note, the PC Gamer's N author was rather disappointed by the omission of Kendal Mint Cake, a truly British gaming tragedy. For those that you don't know what that is, i.e. anyone from America, Kendal Mint Cake is a local speciality up in the Lake Districts where this is set. And trust me, it's no great loss from the game. I've tried it in real life and it's not very nice. The Eurogamer article painted the game as an antidote factory, suggesting a highly memorable and story-driven player experience. The author even recounted an amusing anecdote of bashing an enemy with a cricket bat while they were relieving themselves. You can't get much more British than that. The Eurogamer author also vividly described the setting's colours, from the greens of the Castle Fell woods and the red telephone boxes to the muted flora of blue and purple, with the pink-purple haze radiating from the Windscale power plant, even comparing it to the film Annihilation. This paints a more striking visual picture than before. They also noted that the Castle Fell woods area appears to be one of the many small sandbox maps connected by loading screens rather than one massive open world. This gives us a clear idea of the game's structure. There was some potential criticism though. The Eurogamer author observed enemy AIs that might conga line literally past your hiding spots, drawing a comparison to Rebellion's Sniper Elite games. Hopefully this is just some minor AI issues that are being ironed out. They also found the melee combat a bit sluggish and clunky, but still an improvement over Fallout's, and noted that rusty guns felt punchy but had long reload times. The Eurogamer author's personal experience highlighted the game's encouragement of independent exploration, choosing to ignore suggested points of interest and discovering a crashed helicopter site with a distress signal. They appreciate the lack of hand-holding and map marking, which made the exploration feel more organic. They also mentioned finding hidden comic books and dug-up loot with a metal detector, encountering a brutalistic tower with a blaring alarm and fighting leeches. Lots of more interesting environmental interactions. So there you have it, a whole new host of new information about Atomfall. It sounds like Rebellion is crafting a unique and challenging experience with a strong sense of British identity and a non-traditional approach to storytelling and exploration. The comparisons to Far Cry for gameplay and the description from the Eurogamer are particularly intriguing. What are your thoughts on all the new information? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Atomfall updates as we get closer to release. And thanks for watching.